I'm a 27-year-old woman, and I have been living in Manhattan, New York for the past 4 years due to college. This incident happened primarily over the summer of 2017, and still happens occasionally to this day. It all started with a small hobby shop, we'll call it, and a guy we'll call Jesse for the story. I had met Jesse by the many times I had gone into said hobby shop, and the minor chit-chat we would have while my ex-boyfriend would browse his wares. I soon learned that Jesse had a mutual friend in common, and thus the two of us became acquainted. It wasn't long before Jesse added me on Facebook, and began talking to me pretty frequently. Most of the time, our conversation primarily consisted of me talking about my ongoing junior thesis work, and his girlfriend troubles and customer issues. It all seemed normal, and when he asked me if he could have my number, I didn't think anything of it. Summer rolled around, and he offered me to come work at his store since it was only a few blocks away from where I currently lived. And so I did. My job was mainly to do online inventory and sort through the stock that the store currently had, so I was mostly on my own as far as work went. I knew the content well, so his help wasn't needed. He would mostly just come around to chat with me. I didn't mind at first, until it started getting a little too frequent. He would ignore customers to finish a pointless conversation with me, and the intervals were becoming more and more invasive. He also started hugging me and finding any excuse he could to get close to me and put his hands on my shoulders or upper back. I started to feel uncomfortable, but I needed the job, so I just tried to put it past me. One day, after the store had closed up, he offered to walk with me back to my dorm since the train he needed to take to get back to where he lived was right next to my place. I reluctantly agreed because had I said no, I was afraid he would just follow me anyway and perhaps fire me. It wasn't the nicest way to think, but I needed this job. When we arrived outside of my dormitory, I was ready to go back inside, but he just stood there hoping to have a conversation with me. I entertained him for a little, but it was getting late and I was tired. He eventually asked if he could come inside, which gave me a creepy feeling. Luckily, my dorm doesn't allow visitors after 11 p.m., and it was 12:30ish at that point, so I told him he couldn't. I excused myself and went inside. At the same time that this was all happening, I was talking to a guy I liked almost consistently over Instagram, and felt myself becoming more and more attracted to him. The guy, we'll call him Vlad, returned the feelings, but we weren't dating at that point. Though I must say, the feelings were there. Jesse knew that I was on my phone a lot, but he never knew why, and I was happy that he never asked, at least for the time being. It didn't take Jesse long to confront me about me being on my phone a lot, not just during work hours, but outside of work too. I didn't think I owed him an explanation, but at this point I could sense that he might have something for me. So I told him that I was talking to a friend on Instagram. He started getting jealous and muttered something to the extent of, "You never talk to me that much." I gave him a look and he snapped back into reality. He gave me a smile and told me just to go back and work and to keep it up. I told Vlad about what happened, and he told me to keep an eye on Jesse in case he did anything erratic. On one of my days off in late July, I received confirmation that Vlad was coming to visit me in New York for the week of my birthday in August. Ecstatic, the next day at work I told Jesse I needed off for that week. He gave it to me without thinking. It wasn't until later that week when Jesse asked me what I needed the time off for. I told him it was because I had a friend coming to visit me from out of state, and he smiled. "Is that the person you keep on texting?" he asked. "Yeah, I like him a lot. He's practically the male equivalent of me," I said without thinking. Jesse's face turned sour and he told me that he thought I should go home for the day. I got concerned. Did I do something wrong? I couldn't have. I always did my work efficiently and timely and was never late to work and never called off. Before I could ask why, he shot me a look. I'm not fucking firing you, but you can just go home, he growled. I didn't say anything else. I simply gathered my belongings and left to go home. I told Vlad about it, and he warned me that Jesse was jealous and that he didn't trust him around me. I couldn't put what Vlad was saying to the side. It seemed reasonable enough. That night, I got a text from Jesse, and he asked if we could talk. Yeah, because I'm not sure what happened earlier, I replied. Look, I'm sorry, I'm just really jealous. There's no not creepy way to say this, but I'm in love with you, okay? He said. Jesse, dude, you have a girlfriend. Plus, I'm flattered, but I don't feel that way about you. I'm sorry. It's fine, you're right. I do have a girlfriend. He didn't say anything else after that, and I didn't see him at work the next day. He texted me, but there was no sign of him. I just went about my work as usual. Later that night, when I got home, he texted me that he had dumped his girlfriend. I was taken way aback by that. He had been dating her for 7 years and had dropped her just like that? That's messed up. It turned into a heated debate, and he had argued that now he had a chance with me and that I should give him that chance. I told him that I didn't feel that way for him, and he just kept trying to get me to go on a date with him. I was so confused. I was majorly creeped out at that point and just simply told him no. The next morning, I got a knock on my dorm door. While not unheard of, it's uncommon for a door to be knocked on for anything other than a room inspection. It was one of the security guards I confirmed through my peephole. I opened the door for him. Hey, Mika, you have a visitor waiting for you down in the lobby, he said in a suspicious tone. I wasn't expecting any visitors. I asked the guard what the visitor looked like, and the description he gave me matched Jesse to a T. I informed the guard that he was not invited over, and that if he asked where I was, that I wasn't there. The guard nodded and returned back to the downstairs. I checked my phone to see if there was any messages from Jesse. None. Quiet. I told Vlad and he grew quite angry, offering to speak to Jesse himself. I insisted that he didn't because it would create more unnecessary drama. I didn't want Vlad in the middle of this either. I gave the incident an hour before going outside to smoke a cigarette. When I got out there, I saw Jesse standing across the street looking down the opposite way where I was. Frightened, I threw my cigarette out and ran back inside as fast as I could. What the fuck? Why is he waiting outside of my dorm for me? I was officially creeped out. The only saving grace was that Vlad was coming in a few days and I wouldn't be alone. Fast forward to Vlad arriving in New York City. It was the most amazing experience of my life. He was exactly the person he said he was, and he was just as sweet and kind as he was online in real life. Being his first visit to New York City, I took him all over the place, which he captured through his Instagram. I hadn't heard from Jesse for a few days, so I decided not to give it a thought. One of the days, I took Vlad to the Society of Illustrators, and it was there that I received an eerie message from Jesse. Having fun at the society? He said. I froze. I showed it to Vlad and he concluded that Jesse could have only known that by stalking his Instagram because he had posted his location along with the picture he took while there. I hadn't posted anything on mine and even had Jesse blocked. It was getting very scary. On August 13th, Vlad officially asked me to be his girlfriend, to which I happily agreed and made an announcement about it on Instagram. At that point, I didn't care who saw it because I was so happy. I spent the rest of Vlad's visit in the bliss of new romance and was distraught when he had to leave. I had to return to school in 2 days following his departure and made it a point to quit my job at Jesse's store. One of the other employees relayed the message. On the first day of my new semester, I got several texts from Jesse telling me I was a monster and that I was trash and that he had gotten a new girlfriend just to spite me. I honestly didn't care at that point because I was finally going back to school and would be preoccupied regardless. Vlad and I chatted more than ever, and Jesse's harassment kept coming day after day. I ended up blocking him on Facebook and blocked his phone number so he couldn't reach me. That didn't stop the random numbers from appearing. At first, I didn't know who it was until I answered one time, and it was him. I immediately hung up the phone and blocked that number as well. It continued for months. It was maddening. No matter where I went, the unknown numbers would keep coming, and the "give me a chance, you're a monster, please, I'm so lonely" text flew in. Even when I went to visit Vlad in Missouri for Halloween, they came. I had to leave my phone at his place just for us to have some peace and quiet. The phone calls and texts still happen, but at lesser and lesser frequency. I'm trying to get my phone number changed, but there are some complications with that as well. So, Jesse, though you keep trying to get to me, let's not meet. I forgot to mention that Jesse would create fake Instagram accounts to view my pictures and Vlad's. There were a number of times that I would receive screenshots of posts from either one of us along with the standard "how could you do this to me" message. It was always pictures of Vlad and I kissing or being lovey with each other too. It caused me to stop posting for a while. Vlad made a video statement about it on his account, and after that, it didn't happen again. I've always wanted to share this, but could never find the right place. For reference, at the time this all began when I was 14 and a freshman in high school back in 2008 to 2009. So not recent. It all began during the first couple of weeks of school. I went to this school district all my life and never had any real issues, since I had no enemies and only friends. So anyway, it all began one Friday afternoon after school. I was hanging out with friends outside of the school until my mom came to pick me up when I decided to go upstairs to my locker and put a textbook away that I was originally going to bring home for the weekend. When I got up to my locker, there was a note taped onto it. My name was written on it with a heart around it, and I read it. It was a love letter signed, "Your secret admirer." Thinking it was a friend playing a prank, I laughed it off and tossed it in the trash. When I confronted them downstairs, they denied that they put a note on my locker and insisted that it was probably from a boy. I didn't know what to think, but I did think of a few cute guys I went to school with and hoped it was from one of them. But I sighed and thought that it could have been anyone, and most likely none of them. 2 months go by. During this time, we had school picture day, and my mom had ordered some, which were eventually given to us during one of our classes. I kept them in my locker so I wouldn't lose them. It was a Friday, and I was going to stay after school with friends again and hang around until the high school football game was over later in the evening. I waited until about 2 hours after school ended or so to grab my belongings out of my locker, including the photos. I put them in my backpack and headed on outside and hung around the football field with my friends until people started showing up for the game, to which we walked around or sat in the grass and talked the rest of the evening. When I got home that night, I gave my mom the photos, and she noticed that one of the wallet-sized photos had been cut off from the rest. I never bothered to look at all of them, and so I wasn't aware of this. I told her I didn't cut one off, but she didn't believe me. I didn't know what to think of it. A few weeks go by and I all but forgot about the missing photo. I found another note taped to my locker, and this time, one of my school photos was in it with a heart drawn around my head. A wallet-sized photo. The note made mention of how beautiful I looked during the game, sitting with my friends in the grass, talking and laughing. This made me uncomfortable. Who's ever doing this had stolen one of my photos either out of my locker during school on that Friday or while I left my backpack unattended during the football game. Once again, it was probably one of my friends playing a prank on me, and I didn't say anything about it. It had been several months since the last note. Things took a rather stressful turn the following week. I was at home after school one day, alone while my mom was working a double shift, when someone came knocking on my front door. Thinking it was a pesky neighbor, I took my sweet time to answer it and opened the door to find nobody there. I looked around and saw nothing but other mobile homes and neighbors' cars. I shut the door and resumed what I was doing. I heard the knocking again about 10 minutes later. I took my time again to answer it and found Mike, one of our only friendly male neighbors, there with his Boston Terrier on a leash. He asked me if I had somebody over, which I didn't. He then told me that he saw somebody snooping around my home a few minutes ago. I felt uncomfortable and said that I didn't have anyone over, and asked who it was, and he said he didn't recognize him. I thanked him and locked all my doors and windows after he left. The next month was full of incidents, where our motion sensor backlight would come on in the evening and was capped off by my mom calling the police after she found a dead rabbit nailed to our back porch in a rather cruel fashion. At the time, I never would have imagined that the notes, the snooping around, and now the dead rabbit was the work of someone who had been stalking me in the shadows for the last several months. But it all came into fruition the following day at school. I found the final note taped to my locker. There was a big bulge in it, and when I took it apart, the foot of a rabbit fell onto the floor in front of me. I shrieked in terror as a teacher came running up to me, and I pointed out the rabbit's foot. He picked it up and asked me where it came from. I showed him the note, and we immediately went to the office and showed the vice principal what we found. Later in the day, I was called into the office and found my mom there with the principal and vice principal. It was there that I had to recount the events over the last couple of months for the first time to anyone, and give the names of students that I think may have been responsible based on any suspicious interactions that I had through social media or in school, but I never had anyone that seemed off to me. They told me that if anything were to happen again to let them know, and they'll get the police involved if any life appears to be in danger. My mom had already contacted the state trooper who visited our home the previous night about the rabbit's foot being found on my locker at the school and how a student may have been involved in it. From that day onward, nothing else major happened. However, about halfway through my junior year, I got another love letter. This time, instead of it being written about by hand, it was typed out and signed, "Your secret admirer from freshman year." I had all but forgotten about what had happened during my freshman year. I kept this note and gave it to the principal, who kept it as evidence in case things escalated again. But they never did. Luckily, nothing else happened afterwards, at least nothing that was obvious. To clarify, I'm a male, 20 at the time. It started out fairly innocent. On Valentine's Day, I started to receive secret admirer type text messages from an unknown number. I assumed it was a friend of mine playing a joke as I was in a room with a handful of tech-savvy people at the time. I tried to gauge their reactions and asked if anyone was messing with me. They all denied it, and I believed them. It was further confirmed that it was none of them when I got a phone call from the number. A voice on the other end said, "Is this John?" I replied, "Yes. Who is this?" hoping I could identify the voice. At that point, they hung up and resumed texting. At the time, a lot of my friends lived together, and the people who didn't live there and enjoyed pranks weren't really committed or knowledgeable enough to sign up for a fake number texting service. Things started to get weird when the person began asking pretty personal questions, including repeatedly asking, "Are you doing something tonight?" To which I replied, "Yes." But they kept insisting we should meet up. On top of all of this, I was getting various images sent to me from a separate email. This confirmed it wasn't a real number, and now I had a username to connect to the person. I don't know if it was their intention, but I actually enjoy trying to figure out shit like this, and took it upon myself to expose this person without giving away anything about myself. So I kept it up. I texted them back for a while and dug more and more information about the person, compiling it into a profile and eliminating possibilities. Unfortunately, this just encouraged them, as they insisted I send pictures. "Take pics!" as they kept on sending me pictures throughout our convo. Then they sent a weird one. A white lacy dress hanging in their closet, with a text that read, "My wedding dress for you when I marry you," with various hearts and love emojis. Pic of your reaction? No. Why not? Please. Pics of your surroundings, please. Your room, your face, anything more. You gotta tell me who you are, otherwise I'm definitely not sending you any pictures. I'm not telling you who I am until I feel comfortable. You gotta be fucking kidding me. You're the one who's uncomfortable? They continued to pry about where I was going to be that evening, and I still refused to give details. Then they dropped where they were going to be, a party on campus that night. I couldn't go regardless. I was working. I should also mention that the texting conversations were all over the place. It was like 3 different people were all trying to talk to me about different things all at once. Again, I was bombarded with personal questions about past relationships and what kind of girl do you find yourself most attracted to. There was a little bit more back and forth, not too interesting. Then I got another bombshell. They asked if I lived in apartment 68, which I did. I lied. Close, but not quite. "Oh, I could have sworn. Where do you live? Are you involved with anyone at the moment?" I recognized the style of apartment they were in based on a picture from earlier, so I decided I'd throw a curveball. "You live in this complex, right?" "What? How did you know?" "I recognized your door." All the shitty apartments had the same colored door frame, which was visible in the edge of a picture they sent. The conversation kind of fizzled out here. I didn't go to that party, and didn't get any more text. Among the pictures they sent me were some screenshots of my Facebook, photos of their bed, a pipe, some posters, pretty boring stuff. So, that was February. Fast forward to October. The following school year, I was a senior and busy as fuck. One evening, I got a text from an unknown number. "Is this John Robinson?" So I played dumb, pretended like I wasn't freaking out that after many months this person was contacting me again, and I still hadn't figured out who it was. These questions were instantly more personal and really weirded me out. Don't ruin the fun. Not knowing who I am is part of the mystery. I won't tell you who I am. Not now. Too much to lose. I don't want you to know. Not because I'm being cruel. It's just better if you didn't know. That doesn't make sense. Trust me, you don't want to know. You'll be better off not knowing. Trust me. Okay, whatever. Why are you texting me again? Are you mad at me? I just have no one to talk to. Does my personhood really matter? Can we talk about something else? Like what? I'm pretty tired of this shit and trying to work, but I do want to see if I can pick any more details, so I'm doing the bare minimum to keep this going. Do you celebrate Halloween? I guess I'm bothering you. I have a better question. Have you ever been in love? No. How do you know if you've never experienced it? For a response so extreme, you'd think you've experienced it before, but I guess it's a matter of perspective. You must be a godly man then. These texts are coming so fast I can't keep up. Was that too harsh? What a response. Bye. The next day, around the same time, I got another text. Keep in mind the person is referring to their friend, but I honestly believe this friend is made up. I was talking to my friend about you today. Who's your friend? Don't you want to know what we talked about? Yeah, sure. Then like 3 hours later, they replied. We talked about how you seemed like the type of person to fall in love easily. You're a sap, not in a negative way, just an observation. Like you're wishing for the one. All you care about is finding my identity. That would be the most awkward thing ever. Why so eager? Wouldn't you be weirded out? No, probably not. We've been in class before. What year? Maybe if you got to know me more, you'd figure it out. Okay, tell me about yourself. Hey, why didn't you comment about the observation my friend and I made? Say how you feel. What does that mean? Say how you feel. This makes me uncomfortable. You never ask me any questions. I started messing with them, asking really random questions. This made them really mad. Do you like cats? Do you like long walks on the beach? I live by the beach. Which one? A famous one. A lot of people have sex on the beach under the blankets of night. Near a city? How do you like Long Beach, New York? How do you know I'm from there? The internet is my best friend. Are you nervous? You're just a boy. You are boyish. Let's admit it's nothing bad. It's cute. How old are you? You haven't figured that out already? When's your birthday? The month and day, please. Tell me now. I just want to know your sign. Oh my God, I like Virgos. You're obedient, submissive, like a puppy dog. Isn't that funny? I just laughed. Now I ask you a question. Have you been in a relationship before? Why did your relationship fail? Not telling you about this. This is annoying. Then they sent me a ton of different random photos from Google. My friend asked me to ask you something, but I don't think I will. What? Can we change subjects now? How was your day? Mine was bad, but I don't want to relive it again. It was something I did wrong, so I only have myself to blame. She wanted to ask something intimate, but I'm not going to share, since you don't like talking about that. It's extreme, you're probably not going to answer. I feel sick asking it. Don't have me. I'm just the messenger. I'm embarrassed. You're not going to answer. I could? Okay, so we really want to know if you're a virgin or not. Scratch the virgin part. Ever had intercourse is a better phrase. I knew you wouldn't answer. I didn't answer, and they didn't write anything else. That was all October. This is December, the end of the semester. Hey! Who's this? It's me. I could tell you who I am. When I leave campus, I'm never going to see you again, but I can tell you who I am. Okay, tell me. When I leave campus, I'm never going to see you again. I'm going to be gone. You're so serious. Hello? I'm leaving next week, so... You're ruining it, though. Now I want to punch you. Sorry, I didn't mean to send that last one. Oops. Then they proceeded to call me multiple times. I denied every call, but they kept coming. I think there were 14 calls that night. Then a text from a new fake number. Oh my God. Please stop texting me. Then there were more calls. I turned my phone off. The following week, I was in a class I taught. Students were presenting their final work on the projector, and I had queued multiple tabs on the projection computer. 2 different students had work on Google Drive. When the second student logged into their account, they didn't open a private window, so it logged out the first student. I saw this happen, but the first student wasn't in the room, so when she came back, I asked her to relog in. We were both standing in the projection booth. She was at one end on the computer and I was messing with the sound system on the other side. But I happened to turn and look at the projector screen when she was logging into Google. This hits me like a ton of bricks. The username she logged in was the username as the TextNow account that had been sending me photos. I quickly turned away and pretended to be busy with something until she finished opening her work. I thanked her and she left the booth without realizing her mistake. I tried to play it cool, but inside I was going crazy for the rest of the class. After almost a year, I knew who it was. She finally slipped up, and honestly, I was much more scared now than I had ever been. This person had a history of being pretty creepy around my friends, and although she had never personally interacted with me outside of class, all of my friends had strange experiences. Side note, here are 2 abbreviated ones to fully illustrate this craziness. My friend Michael was working endlessly on his thesis in the building. He was about 50 hours into a no-sleep work binge, and it's like 7 a.m. She walks in and starts working on a computer in the lab. Another guy, Dave, comes in and remarks about Michael. "You're still here? I've been working for days, starting to see things out of the corner of my eye. Sometimes I see a tall man in a suit." She immediately turns around and says, "You see him too?" Michael has no idea what to say, and Dave makes a joke about it being the ghost of the building. She doesn't say anything and goes back to work. Another friend, Isaac, also worked late in this building, and sometimes would find her waiting outside the front door around 3 a.m., and she would follow him home. Occasionally, she showed up outside his door at night and demanded to be let in. One time, while I was actually at his place, she came to the back door and knocked for about 20 minutes. We pretended not to be home and shut all the blinds on the front of the house and went upstairs. There's plenty more to tell about their interactions, including one where she attacked him at a party. But that's delving into another story. So, point being, she kind of had a reputation in our friend group, and we generally tried to keep our distance. I had always assumed I was immune. Sorry to say, there's really no conclusion to the story. Someone advised me to file a complaint with the school and try to get a restraining order or something. I figured if we all talked to someone and explained our experiences, we could at least keep her from showing up at our front door. I made a meeting with a counselor who seemed to really care and offered to look into it. A couple of weeks later, he emailed me saying, "The student is going abroad next semester, so we're not going to do anything." I insisted that at least something temporary be put into place, and that although I was graduating at the end of the year, Isaac would be returning for one more year. They didn't do anything, but what did I expect? This school is pretty notorious for not giving a shit. I didn't run into her again, she hasn't texted me, and Isaac ended up taking a year off. So for the time being, that is where the story ends. Hey guys, thank you all for watching. Ugh, God, it feels like it's been forever since I talked to you guys. Well, I do apologize about that. It's like I say in every single video, every time I do talk to you guys. Life just has a way of just getting busier and busier as you get older. But, anyways, guys. Oh, Lord. But, anyways, I do apologize for my videos being a bit sporadic as to when I upload, when I do upload. Jesus, I don't even know where to begin what's been going on with my life so far. Well, I do want to say that I did get a new job again. Yeah, I know, I'm hopping jobs like no tomorrow. I really do wish that I could use YouTube as a full-time job, but with the way things are right now, I need money, I need extra money, but hey, I'm still going to be uploading scary stories for you guys, and with all that being said, I just want to thank, I think it might have been Unit, but I remember him saying one time that he hated working security, and it was terrible and awful. To anybody that is working in security, that is listening to me right now talking, honestly, I give you guys so much credit for doing what you're doing. Just because the experience that I've had working in it about a year ago and a little bit into this year has just been completely awful. I mean, oh God, and I thought I saw the worst in certain jobs that you can get. This by far was